Welcome, deep divers, to another journey into the fascinating. Today, we're taking on a truly captivating deep dive. It's about the harrowing but also incredibly resilient journey of a young girl lost in the vast, unforgiving woods of Maine. Our mission today is really to go beyond just what happened. We want to extract those profound psychological nuggets about survival, the surprising ways we construct belief, and, what lessons Trisha McFarland's ordeal holds for all of us.
It's such a compelling narrative. And it's deeply rooted in, well, human psychology and survival instincts. We'll be exploring how a 9-year-old girl, Trisha, navigates these extreme physical and mental challenges, armed with, not much more than her wits, a baseball cap, and a Walkman. You'll find it's a story just rich with detail. It offers a rare glimpse into the intense internal world of someone facing, profound isolation and existential fear.
Okay, so let's unpack this journey, starting right from the moment Trisha steps off that path. So, Trisha McFarland, she's 9 years old, and she finds her world described as having teeth that could bite you with them anytime it wanted. This isn't just about the physical danger of the woods, right? It's rooted in something deeper, like in the family. What's the psychological backdrop here before she even gets lost?
Yeah, that's a really crucial starting point. The immediate trigger for her stepping off the trail is simple enough: she needs to pee. But the underlying motivation is this really profound desire to escape her parents' constant fighting. The sources show, their divorce happened about a year prior. They moved from suburban Boston to southern Maine. And her older brother, Pete, he's got this bitter resentment toward his new school. It all created a deeply well-fractured home environment.
Right. And her mother, Quilla Anderson, she's depicted as grimly dedicated to these, quote, instructive family outings, places like the Auto Museum, Shaker Village, the Planetarium, stuff like that. And Pete, who's almost 14, he just openly hates them, calls Six Gun City for babies. How does this tension affect Trisha, stuck in the middle?
Oh, it creates immense pressure on her. Pete's constant complaining, especially about this Appalachian trail hike they're on, it pushes their mother to what's called condition red.
Hmm.
And Trisha feels like glue holding together two pieces of something that was broken, weak glue. That's how she sees herself. So her coping mechanism is to become brightly enthusiastic. She sounds almost like a contestant on a TV game show.
Hmm.
It's not just being cheerful, it's a kind of desperate attempt to diffuse the tension, hold things together somehow.
Ah, okay. And it's here we see her unique escape into fantasy, right? With the Boston Red Sox cap. Signed by her favorite player, the closer Tom Gordon, number 36. Her father admired Gordon's ice water in his veins, and Trisha, like his guts to throw a curve on 3-0, she even imagines talking to him. How does this fantasy help her, even before the real ordeal kicks off?
This fantasy is incredibly crucial, really. It's like a preemptive psychological buffer. It's a form of self-soothing and projecting strength that she carries right into the woods with her. That signed cap isn't just, memorabilia. It becomes this tangible link to comfort, to a perceived external source of strength. It's really her first and maybe most potent coping tool, ready to go.
Okay, so the real trouble starts when Trisha, trying to duck out of her parents' argument, deliberately steps off the main trail at a Y fork. She plans to just cut across and rejoin it. She thinks she can hear other hikers at first. What's the psychological shift there, from just being annoyed or uncomfortable to that first wave of real gut-level fear?
Well, what Trisha's experience shows so vividly is how fast panic can set in, even in a strong-willed kid. As soon as that familiar world starts to crumble, that initial belief, oh, I hear people, it just dissolves. The woods fall silent. That minnowy flutter of disquiet in her stomach, it just ramps up fast as she's struggling with the terrain, wriggling under a tree, getting soaked, her hands start trembling. It's the loss of certainty, losing those anchors, that triggers that really primal fear.
And then the snake appears, hidden in the leaves. Even though it's harmless, it just sends her fear skyrocketing. It's described as this visceral, primal terror, and that internal cold voice whispers, "You've already lost them."
Exactly. And she tries to keep control, uses her father's phrase, damn and blast, tells herself, I'm not scared.
Right.
She tries using landmarks to walk in a straight line, but then that chilling thought hits. What if it was a straight line in the wrong direction?
Mm-hmm.
And on top of all that, the constant irritating buzz of the bugs, mange, no hessiums, mosquitoes, it's like this relentless physical reminder of her inescapable situation.
Yeah, that sounds awful. The isolation just becomes too much eventually. She finally screams, "Help me, I'm lost! Help me, I'm lost!" And her voice just breaks down into almost the shriek of a baby. That sounds like a real breaking point where her composure just shatters.
It truly is. That moment is where the sheer physical and mental exhaustion just boils over. It's a complete emotional unraveling.
Mm.
It shows how quickly even a determined person can be stripped bare when they face absolute isolation and that feeling of losing control. Her inner strength, just for that moment, it can't hold up against the crushing reality of her situation.
And so she keeps yelling and crying. The bugs are still relentless. Her physical state gets worse fast. Eyelids swollen from bites, weak, headachy. She even runs without realizing it, scrapes her face on a branch. What's the link here between her body failing and her mental state getting worse?
This is where the story really shows the uh, the physiological toll of extreme stress. It's powerful. Her physical injuries, the fatigue, they start directly impacting her thinking, her emotions. She comes to a cliff edge, almost falls, and has this vivid image of her own gruesome death. It's a terrifying moment of clarity, like a shock to her system, forcing her to confront just how real the danger is. Her repeating, "I'm okay," it becomes less like denial and more like a desperate mantra, trying to stop herself from completely falling apart psychologically.
And then she faints, wakes up, there's a fierce thunderstorm, and she thinks about the bugs feeding on her, even her dead body. Quinn stuff. But despite that, something shifts. A glimmer of resourcefulness starts to show. How does she go from despair to, well, discipline?
It's a pretty remarkable transition, actually. Despite the absolute terror, she starts to think like an adult survivor. She consciously makes herself conserve her water, and her surge drink only allows a few gulps at a time. This newfound discipline, it's a vital cognitive shift. Her mind, recognizing how dire things are, starts to override that immediate need with long-term survival thinking. It's really a moment where her will to live shows up as practical, rational action.
Okay, right. And then a real lifeline. She finds her Walkman. But it's kind of a double-edged sword, isn't it? First, it connects her to people through a local radio station, WCAS. But then it delivers this devastating blow, the news report, naming her, Trisha McFarland, as missing and presumably lost in the woods. What does that official confirmation do to her psychologically?
Oh, it's a really complex emotional moment. The sources mention this small, strange trickle of satisfaction she feels, thinking, "I wasn't supervised." For a kid feeling trapped by family conflict, that official declaration, however terrifying, it maybe provides this momentary, almost perverse sense of freedom. Or maybe external validation of how bad things were for her. The radio, first it's this miracle, connecting her to the world. Then it suddenly makes her isolation concrete. Yet it also acknowledges her reality, so it brings both fear and this strange sense of maybe being seen.
Then a crucial turning point comes from a childhood memory. You found a stream and followed it, and sooner or later it would either lead you out or to a bigger stream. That idea from the Little House books, it gives her this renewed purpose, even giddy elation. What's the significance of that memory kicking in? How does it fuel her drive?
That memory provides a critical cognitive framework. In this world of just absolute chaos and disorientation, she grabs onto a simple, actionable rule. It's a classic example of how having a tangible goal, any goal, can cut through panic and give you direction. This Little House wisdom, it isn't just a fond memory, it becomes a survival principle. It gives her a sense of purpose again, agency, a path forward.
But the journey is nowhere near over. She has that devastating setback when she slips, falls right into a wasp's nest, multiple stings, her left eye swells almost shut. How does that kind of brutal physical attack hit her when she's already so fragile mentally?
It's just a severe physical assault, and it pushes her right back towards despair. The sources really show how repeated physical trauma systematically wears down your mental resilience. Each injury just adds to the pile of stress, making it harder and harder to hold on to hope or discipline. This wasp attack isn't just painful, it's a huge psychological blow, a really harsh reminder of the relentless, indifferent hostility of her environment.
Wow. And then there's this strange detail mentioned in the sources happening back in the real world. An anonymous caller tips off the police about some guy, Francis Raymond Meserole, a child molester, saying he kidnapped her. Police start looking for him, but it turns out he has an alibi. What does including that detail add to the story for us?
Well, that detail really highlights the stark contrast, doesn't it? Between the intense, solitary reality Trisha's living through and the external efforts to rescue her, which are often, flawed or based on wrong assumptions. It underscores how easily assumptions get made, how public narratives can just fly off in a totally different direction from personal reality in a crisis. For you, the listener, it's kind of a reminder that what's actually happening on the ground in a survival situation is often miles away from the headlines or what people are speculating about.
Right. Meanwhile, Trisha finds comfort again in her Walkman, listening to the Red Sox game. And she specifically links Tom Gordon getting a save in the game to her own desperate need to be saved.
Yeah, this merging of her internal world and the external crisis, it gets deeper and more profound. It's crucial for her coping. She has this vivid nightmare about her dad
Hmm.
and a monstrous wasp nest, then hears these chilling taunts from that internal cold voice telling her she'll die alone. But the radio, especially the Sox games, it provides this consistent, familiar structure that grounds her. It was really a remarkable testament to the power of routine and connection, even perceived connection, in isolation. It transforms her hero into this tangible, mental companion.
But the resilience keeps showing up. She tries to catch a fish with her poncho hood even though she's nauseous and feverish. And she actually succeeds, eats the raw trout. That sounds like pure survival instinct, just taking over, pushing past revulsion.
That's precisely it. You can almost see her body taking charge. Her mind is disgusted. You can't eat the head, the eyes. But her body just sort of slaps the mind away, proclaims, "Body was in charge, dinner is served." It's such a powerful demonstration of instinctual survival, where the most primal needs just override learned feelings, even conscious thought, a stark reminder of the body's ultimate drive for self-preservation.
Wow. But then, after an angry tantrum screaming, "I want my mother, I want to go home," she makes a critical mistake. Instead of crossing a marsh, which apparently would have led her out towards a pond and civilization, she turns north, walks deeper into the wilderness. What does that decision tell us about that fine line between perseverance and, well, fatal error, especially when someone's that exhausted?
That decision, I mean, while it might have seemed logical to her at the time, maybe safer, it really highlights how even the most determined person can be led astray by just profound fatigue, a limited understanding of the environment, and the sheer mental drain of prolonged stress. It makes you consider that survival isn't just about willpower. It's also about the cumulative impact of all those physical and mental stressors on your decision-making. That fine line you mentioned between pushing forward and making a really bad choice, it gets incredibly thin under those conditions.
Yeah, I can see that. So as the days blur together, Trisha's physical state gets even worse. Feverish, sore throat, and she starts having these vivid hallucinations. A silent black helicopter, mutilated deer corpses hanging in trees, a drowned face in a stream, a crow hanging upside down. What's happening psychologically when the mind starts generating those kinds of images under such extreme duress?
Well, those hallucinations are really the mind's way of grappling with extreme isolation, physical deprivation, and that deep existential fear. They're a kind of internal narrative, sometimes maybe protective in a weird way, sometimes terrifying. They fill the void left by the lack of normal external stimuli. Her Walkman, though, that remains her anchor through all this. She keeps listening to the Red Sox games on AM radio. Finds strength in those familiar voices. The source says the radio was her lifeline, the games her life preserver. It's just a remarkable testament to the power of routine and that perceived connection to a structured reality, even when her own reality is literally dissolving around her.
Incredible. So after days of wandering, she hears a sound that offers a new kind of hope. Distant backfires, then the unmistakable hum of tires on pavement, a real road, finally. But just as she's nearing rescue, the god of the lost emerges. And this isn't just a bear, is it?
No, definitely not just a bear. This entity, appearing as this terrifying black bear, but with black, maggot-filled eye sockets. It represents her deepest, most primal fears made manifest, embodied. It speaks to her, dares her to run. It feeds on her fear. This isn't just a physical threat. It's the ultimate psychological test. It embodies all the isolation, the despair, the vulnerability she's faced. It's like the symbolic culmination of her entire ordeal.
And right then, she remembers Tom Gordon's secret to closing a game, establishing who was better. You don't run, you create stillness in the cyclone's core. She brings her hands together like she's pitching.
Yeah, the confrontation is incredibly stark. The bear thing's face morphs, showing her teachers, friends, parents, strangers, all her fears made visible. But Trisha, drawing on Tom Gordon's supposed ice water in her veins, she actually stands her ground. This isn't just remembering a baseball hero, it's this act of deep psychological integration. She's using a familiar ritual, a hero's mindset, to exert internal control over this overwhelming external fear, and she throws her imaginary curveball.
Just as she delivers her heartbreaker, a hunter, Travis Herrick, shoots the bear. And Trisha sees, get this, Energizer AA batteries fall from the bear's eyes. She screams, "Strike three called." I threw the curve and just froze him.
That blending of the real and the imagined, especially the batteries, it's just incredibly profound, isn't it? It reveals that at the very moment of her external salvation, her mind is processing the event entirely through the lens of her constructed coping mechanisms. The external rescue aligns perfectly with her internal triumph, her save. She passes out then, having used up every last bit of strength trying to say, I got the save. Her internal narrative of self-rescue has become her lived reality at that point.
Wow. So Trisha wakes up in a hospital, diagnosed with pneumonia. Her family's there, relieved, tearful. She's weak, but she's alive.
And those final moments are just incredibly poignant. They really encapsulate her whole journey. Trisha, she can't speak yet, but she fixes her father with her eyes, taps her battered Tom Gordon cap, and then points up to the ceiling.
And her father understands, gets the sweetest, truest smile, says, if there was a path, it was there. It's such a powerful, silent affirmation.
Absolutely. That final gesture, connecting her baseball hero's signature skyward point with her own harrowing survival, it just speaks volumes. It speaks about the deeply personal nature of finding strength when all the conventional paths are lost. And the author's postscript reminds us, that while the physical stuff in Trisha's ordeal, the edible plants, the realistic woods, that's all true to life. It's really this interior journey, this construction of belief and finding internal strength that truly resonates.
Yeah, Trisha's journey really makes you think about how our minds construct reality, doesn't it? Especially when we're faced with extreme stress and isolation. So what does this all mean for you listening right now?
Well, it definitely raises an important question. In moments of desperate need, what unconventional forms of faith or belief do you construct to carry you through? And how real do they become in those moments? Trisha's story is just such a vivid example of how our internal resources, our unique coping mechanisms, our personal heroes, maybe those inner voices, how they might actually be our most powerful guides to finding our way back, even when all the external paths seem to have vanished.
And maybe something to ponder. Was Trisha truly saved just by external help showing up at the right second? Or did her ability to close her own internal game to face down her own fears ultimately lead her to that moment of rescue?